Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm Sohail Zindani and we are back with another episode of In Conversation with Sohail Zindani. I've been constantly telling it's not about Sohail Zindani. It's about people who I know, people who are my friends, mentors, colleagues, people from the same profession, people from professions I have no clue about, but all wonderful, cool people that I've been in touch with, and I believe that they have so much to add in terms of value to the people that I am trying to reach out through these conversations. Today, I have somebody who is not from my country, but we are living in a global village anyways. And those who had any doubt about globe being a village, coronavirus taught us. Today, we have Luke Salway with us. And Luke was supposed to be here in Pakistan in April. So technically speaking, today he would have been landing in Pakistan when I'm doing this show. But we had to defer the program, postpone the program, because we were at that point in time, I think we foresaw this condition to happen, and then the lockdown came in. So, and that's a global challenge. But we were all scheduled to have a ICF accredited certification program with Luke Salway regarding coaching, of course, in Pakistan, which we are now hopeful that we'll do as soon as the corona dust settles down a bit. And again, a guru when it comes to NLP. So Luke, thank you for joining us.
Wow, thank you, Sohail. Thank you for the opportunity and for the very warm welcome today. Hi, everyone. Greetings from Bangkok, Thailand, where we are also in lockdown here. Originally from Australia. I'm not Thai, as you may tell. However, Thailand has been my home for 20 years now, and I love living here. Bangkok is really the center of Asia, so I'm able to travel around 15 different countries around the region, delivering coaching programs, NLP programs, and leadership development programs as well. As Sohail mentioned, I was going to touch down in the next day or two. We were going to facilitate together an ICF coaching certification program, which I believe is the first time in Pakistan. And as we could see what was happening with the whole global thing that's going on right now, we decided to pause that program, and we'll definitely be coming back though. We do plan to come there July, August, September. So keep your eyes posted on Sohail's Facebook page. I'm sure we'll have the update soon. And, I've been doing a lot of webinars lately, and I'm getting used to this technology, and I do a lot of group coaching online, and even now some of my existing corporate clients have realized that this is not going away in the next week or two, right? In fact, the whole economy, the world is changing, the way that we communicate, the way that we do business, the way that we lead our teams, it's all changing. And so I wanted to share a few tips today. If you're listening to this, chances are you are a leader or you aspire to be one, you're a business owner or an executive. And, the use of coaching skills in your leadership role is absolutely essential. And studies have shown that leaders probably use less than 1% of a coaching conversation while leading their teams. 80% of a leader's function is...
Sorry to interrupt. I think the number that you shared in terms of 1% using that, and people like you have been advocating it for so many years, coaching and the value of coaching. But now I think this situation has just turned out to be a blessing in disguise, where if we are not using coaching as a tool, I don't know what else we have in store. So yeah, please go ahead. I think this is the time for us to master the skill of coaching.
Exactly. So according to statistics, which one of my colleagues showed me on a piece of paper, so it must be true, leaders are telling their teams what to do 80 to 85% of the time. And this was backed by some university study that was done. And so basically telling people what to do, it's not empowering people to think for themselves. And there's never been a better time than right now to move from that paradigm of telling people what to do to move to a more open conversation about brainstorming new ideas, new concepts, new solutions, new ways of doing business, new ways of communicating. and really opening up a dialogue with our teams, to have a more inclusive dialogue. And out of those kinds of conversations, you're going to get a lot better input from teams. You're going to get them to buy into the ideas that they're coming up with. When you're working together as a team, there'll be a certain synergy, so ideas will build on ideas and build on ideas, right? The trap of kind of old style leadership is, okay, hey, I'm the boss, you better do as I say, and it's my way or the highway. Well, that kind of model of leadership is quite antiquated now. It's quite old. And if you want to thrive in this ever-changing environment, like, you know, the buzzword of the last 6 months was disruption. Until it actually happened, we've never been in a bigger disruption than right now, and people are literally pulling their hair out.
I don't have the option.
Our hair's been gone for years,
Yeah.
by choice. Yeah. So, well, the universe, Mother Nature, call it whatever you will, has given us this massive disruption at the moment. And of course, it's not to be, you know, ignorant or dismissive of the challenges that are going on right now. You know, people are sick. People are losing their jobs. It's not an easy time for a lot of people out there. And again, as a leader, we have a responsibility to create certainty in uncertain times. Right? Now, the trap there is that we tell everyone what to do as the leader. No. By creating certainty in uncertain times, that means it's our job as the leader to keep our cool. It's our job to keep calm and to kind of like hold the space for our teams in this VUCA world, this volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous world that we're going through right now. If we freak out as a leader, then of course our teams are going to freak out, and that's not going to help, you know, support the business. It's not going to help our clients. It's not going to help our families. So if we want to be the change that we want to see in the world, the very first thing we need to do as a leader is to maintain our own emotional intelligence. And one of the best tools for that I can borrow from the world of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, is whatever's going on in the world is to simply ask ourselves a question. And when I say the world, I mean it could be what's going on out there, or what's happening on a day-to-day moment, what's this situation, that event, that thing, whatever's going on that's perceived as being negative, we can simply ask ourselves, what could be good about this? Right? And this is a very, very powerful coaching question. And in fact, take that question, guys and girls, put it in your pocket, because you can use it multiple times a day. You can use it for yourself, and you can use it for your teams.
I think,
right? Sorry, Sohail, go ahead.
I think based on what you just said, what could go right in this context? You know, doing all these programs, every time when I talk to employees who were completely caught up by the kind of work pressure that they face, and if you ask them, hey, tell me one wish that you like to, you know, happen in your life, and they'll tell you, Sohail, we want to work from home. We want to rest.
Exactly. There you go.
Here you have the opportunity, and all of a sudden we are freaking out. And I think there is a lot, because this break has not been intentional to us. And I think that somewhere, I don't know, share with your thoughts around what NLP teaches about it. But I think because it has been very unconscious to us, this has been unintentional to us, and therefore the way we are dealing with it appears to be more as crisis rather than opportunity.
Well, exactly. So there's a couple of things that you talk about in that, what you just mentioned now, Sohail. And certainly the first thing is that we need to be aware that we cannot control every single thing outside of us, right? And, you know, especially given a virus, something we can't even see, and then our government's responses to it, and I'm talking about governments all around the world, they have slightly different responses in how they're handling that. Unless you're working in the government, there's actually not much we can do about it, except just to be aware of, you know, the rules, or the what they're telling us to do or to not do. Now, aside from that, given that we cannot control every single event that happens outside of us, what we can always do is control our response to it, right? So there's a beautiful quote by Viktor Frankl, who's the author of Man's Search for Meaning. And what he says is, between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies our power and our freedom to choose our response. And in our response lies our growth and our freedom. So in other words, stimulus is those things that are happening outside of us, that are outside of our control. We can't control that. Most people, though, they will react, right? Stimulus, reaction. And that reaction might look like anger, fear, anxiety, frustration, freaking out, whatever it is. Well, the truth is that there's a space, and our job as leaders is to take that space and make it wider, so that no matter what's going on, that stimulus, that event, that situation, we choose a conscious response, an empowering response, so that no matter what's going on in the world, we can choose to, be more positive, be more optimistic. What actions can we do? How can we serve our clients? How can I take care of my family? How can I add value? How can I contribute to my community, right? There's 100 different ways that we can respond instead of reacting from fear, reacting from anxiety. And one of the quickest ways I know how to basically control our response is limit the amount of negativity that we consume each day through media, whether it be social media or mainstream media or any kind of media out there. Half of it's not even true, and the other half of it is that the fear knob has been ramped right up to 15 out of 10 volume. So you don't have a choice but to feel bad when you read all this negative drama that's going on in the world. And this is why I really applaud you, Sohail, for creating some positive content here that we can share to let people know that there are choices that we can make on a moment by moment, day by day basis that lead us closer towards the outcomes that you want to achieve, right? Quick example, very quick example. I'm a trainer, I'm a coach. All hotels are closed here in Bangkok right now. So I don't have a real revenue stream coming in for the next, 4 to 8 weeks, whatever that might be, because people are simply not doing training. What is happening though is now the world is suddenly becoming aware of like, oh, we can do business online. We can do meetings online. We don't have to be face to face. And so I have a handful of very forward thinking, proactive business owners who are contacting me and said, hey, Luke, can we do something online? And of course, the answer is yes, of course we can. So I'm conducting webinars. We're doing online sessions for some of our organizations. We're able to do executive coaching in an online format. So what that does is, and this, literally overnight, we've had to adapt our business model to be more flexible, right? To respond in a more positive way to serve the needs of our clients. And yeah, does that mean I have to take a crash course in how to run this Zoom program? Yes. Does that mean I have to be a little bit flexible and adapt to, when my clients are available? Absolutely. Did I need to make some adjustments in pricing structure and how we do the logistics of 20 people on a Zoom call? Yes, but all of that is okay. If I'm like gripped with fear because I'm reading all these doom and gloom BS articles on wherever, then that paralyzes me. And if I'm not doing anything, then nothing is going to change.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
This is amazing. I'll just share with you my experience. So I am somebody, my friends know me very well in this regard. I am the laziest thing that I've known. I hate traveling, and somehow the job is that I'm mostly traveling. I never liked traveling. It's a pain in my, everywhere. And when this situation came in, to be very honest, all these people who were writing articles and doing videos on the VUCA world, they literally disappeared because now VUCA was right on their face. And I realized that this situation brought a completely new, a different, and to be very honest, a way that suits me the most. because now I don't even have to get my ass off. And I am doing work with my client. I was the happiest. The only thing that I need to make sure is that the t-shirt or the shirt is good, and that's it. And you're very right. The first thing I did was I attended 3 webinars on how
Yep.
to use Zoom and other technologies like Microsoft Teams and others, on how to use it professionally, how to make sure the engagement with participants is done in the real time, how to get their, raise hands and,
Yep.
questions are being, and I think that was so empowering. This week, I'm doing 4 sessions for my client, and I think I would have never done it otherwise. I would have never done it otherwise. And even if I would have wished to, my clients would have been no, no, no. But now they're loving it because they don't have to pay for hotels. They don't have to
Yes.
pay for my travel and stay. They're loving
Yep.
it. And the impact, okay, this, of course, we are humans and we like social connect. But having said that, I think this is more empowering because we are now able to reach people who we would have not done otherwise. And I think this side of looking at it is very empowering for me.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what's true, Sohail, is that business may never return to be the same again. And I don't mean like in a financial sense. I'm sure the economy will bounce back some way, somehow. It always does. Perhaps there'll be less consumerism in a certain way. I think we realize how much crap we don't really need. But the way we do business in terms of, doing things online and things like that, I think that will change, being bogged down in meeting after meeting after meeting in typical corporate world. I think they're just going to go away, those kinds of meetings now. People will just, use these kind of Zoom functions. And, one thing that's absolutely true is in these uncertain times, in this VUCA world that we're actually right now in the middle of, this is the time when leaders need more tools and resources, right, to be able to keep their teams moving forward. And so coming back to, a couple of the basic coaching principles, like, and again, just to remind everyone, a leader's job is to create certainty in uncertain times, right? And how do we do that? Is by managing our EQ, step number 1. Then after that, though, we can't just presume to know all the answers in this current situation that we're in as the leader. And that would be naive to think that I'm just going to tell my teams what to do. So coaching rule 101 is we don't tell people what to do, we ask them what to do. So in other words, a coach is really, really, really good at asking questions. And so a perfect coaching conversation that you could begin to have as a leader with your teams is you bring them all onto a Zoom call and you say, okay, team, everyone safe, everyone healthy? Okay, great. Anything you need? No? Okay, we're all good. Fantastic. Okay. So the purpose of this meeting is, we're down 50% in sales for the last month. This projections for this month don't look very good. Things will start to pick up probably again in May. Ladies and gentlemen, what can we do together as a team that when sales start to pick up in May, what can we do to get back on track for our 2020 targets? Right? And then it's just a few series of simple questions like that. What do you think we could do? What could we do differently? Tell me some ideas you've got. What did you do in that last company that you worked for? Rather than telling them what to do, open up a dialogue, open up a conversation. And that's coaching 101 at its finest.
I think the way I put it up for leaders is that leaders have to move beyond their own intellectual constipation.
Nice. Yes. Exactly. Well said. And being that kind of leader where you include the team, many things are going on in that kind of dynamic. Number 1, you're likely to come up with better ideas than you could by coming up with yourself, especially if we're constipated. Number 2, the team feel included. Number 3, if they do agree on some initiatives, then they will take ownership and accountability and responsibility for those new initiatives, which will then accelerate the implementation and the doing of that action plan. Why? because they came up with it. It wasn't like a directive from the big boss who said, here, do this. No, because they came up with the idea that they have that buy-in, right? And it can be the sales department, it can be the marketing department, it can be operations. It doesn't matter. It's all the same. Any department is the same. Once the team comes up with some of those initiatives, then they're gonna grab the ball and they're gonna run with it.
I think this is wonderful, and I'm sure for listeners for this conversation, the best thing that you did was of course, the entire conversation was amazing, but I think one of the most important takeaway were those ready-made conversation statements that leaders can use in their next meeting, and I'm sure listeners who get to know this would try it the next day. And by the way, let me tell you, even in terms of families, I'm talking to the listeners, even in terms of families, I think these are the conversations that you need to make. So your father or mother, let go your intellectual constipation, because you also have never seen a time like this before. It's a great time to learn from your children what to do. It's a great time to ask them to teach you technologies, which is more native to them and not to you. And I think that would be a great time for all of us. So wonderful. Luke, to conclude, I have this ritual of asking these two questions as the last part of my conversation. And so I'm going to do it for you. Luke, okay. If we take away everything from you, all your possession, all your worldly possession from you, and let you hold on to three things, what those three things would be?
Well, I have to say my wife, because she's sitting just over there. I would have to say my passport, because I love to travel, and I'm a global citizen, as I think you mentioned at the beginning here. So even though we can't travel right now, I would definitely need my passport.
I'm telling you, if we would have been allowed to travel, half of Pakistan would have been sitting in Thailand. I'm telling you.
Yeah, probably. Yep. And well, I've got three cats sitting over there too, and in the lieu of having two-legged children, we have three four-legged children. So I guess they would have to be bundled up with us as well to go wherever we go, and then that would, I think, be the politically correct answer.
That's wonderful. And now one statement definition to how you look at success. What is success for you?
I think success is happiness. To be happy and be positive regardless of what is going on. Whether you've got, $10 in the bank, 10,000 or $1 million. If and I've seen it before, people have the money and the success, they have the money and the house and the cars and all of the stuff, but they're not happy. Yet I've seen people at the other end of the spectrum as I've traveled around the world who literally have nothing and they've got a smile from ear to ear. That person is successful, right? Because they've managed to find happiness and joy in the moment. That's a gift. And I think as a leader, as a human, that should be a goal that we strive to, is to find more happiness and more fulfillment moment to moment.
Beautiful. I think this reminds me of the last coaching conversation I had with one of the CEOs here in the country, who, of course, as per his designation, was depressed. And I told him, if you are a failure and you are depressed, that's okay. You qualified for that. That's okay. But if you are successful, worldly terms, if you are successful and you are depressed, I think that's miserable because you have worked so hard for that. So I'm sure something has gone terribly wrong in the process. And I think what you just summed up to, the aspect of happiness, that's something that all our listeners can benefit immensely from. So wonderful, Luke. This brings us to the end of the conversation. Thank you for the generosity of your time and knowledge. I think that's the most valuable asset that we all have. Time, of course, keeps going, but knowledge keeps expanding. So thank you.
Well, that's it. And that's one thing we can replace. Instead of listening to all the negativity, gloom and doom, yes. What can you learn online? What TED Talk can you watch? What books can you read? What kind of interviews or webinars can you attend? There is so much positivity that we can put inside here, and that will create more happiness. This news and the doom and the gloom, that removes our happiness. So Absolutely, Sohail. Thank you very much for the
Thank you, Luke.
opportunity, and I look forward to coming to Pakistan in some time soon
We
in
look forward
2020.
to hosting you and taking you to the places all over here. So thank you, Luke, and thank you, listeners, for joining us for this episode of In Conversation with Sohail Zindani. Share your questions in the comments segment, and we would love to have Luke once more in this conversation segment. Thank you all. God bless you.
Thank you, Sohail. Bye-bye.
Bye.